Although completely subjective, when you think about a Rolex, there's some core ingredients that come to one's mind. A black dial with circular hour markers, a black bezel, and in modern Rolexes, a ceramic black bezel. And then arguably, in the flashy scheme of things, one ingredient that may make it to the list is the two-tonality. Then you can start to add some wish list too, and you can also add a GMT complication into what you are getting at, and may also possibly add a Jubilee bracelet. Then come to think of it, although we didn't expect or envisage it before, this combination may possibly be one of the best in the Rolex GMT line. And we will discuss it a little as to the background, the history, and a bit about why it looks the way it does, and why it is so sought after, despite being arguably a little controversial release. And why I say that, let's also look into this. Historically, a GMT in two-tone, especially in the combination of oyster steel and yellow gold, or as Rolex call it, roller sole, was not really a very popular model. Yes, I am referring to the previous model 1167, which was discontinued in 2019. And while it was produced in the two-tone configuration too, it was not really quite a sought-after piece. You could argue to say that, well, not really too many pieces were that sought after a few years ago, and now basically any watch with the name Rolex on the dial is a hot donut. And that's not quite untrue either. Why is it so is a topic for another time. In the two-tone configuration, the new release model does offer some changes and differences from the previous two-tone GMT model that make it not just quite different, but also a little more interesting, flashy and eye-catchy. Firstly, let's talk about the bezel, and this is the first time that we have a two-tone ceramic bezel in a two-tone GMT in yellow gold. And it's not just two-tone, it's a little more versatile and subtle grey and black, as opposed to blue and red in Pepsi and bright blue and black in the Batman configuration. The grey and black here makes it a little more versatile and a little less in your face, which can be a solid positive for many or a little negative for some. Tastes are all subjective. The new model then further comes with a Jubilee bracelet, which somehow just works perfectly with the looks and the form of the GMT. This is also to note that while GMT is a professional watch by Rolex, it was never really made for pilots as such. Rather, it was made for people who travel up in the sky and wanted to keep track of 2 time zones or even 3 time zones. The dial comes with a glossy black texture as you see in other GMT models or Rolex Submariner. And same is the case with the ceramic bezel, which is also in glossy finish. One very interesting and quite different design element here is the GMT hand, and where you see in other models green, blue and red GMT hands, here in this all-new reference, the GMT hand has no color and it comes in the same yellow gold finish similar to the other dial hands. Not that it doesn't work this way, it's just different, although equally beautiful and elegant. Speaking about the case size, measured at the outer extremity of the bezel, the watch measures at 40.2 mm. So it is a true 40 mm watch when you talk about how it looks on the wrist. To measure the size of the dial, I measured the size of crystal on top and it is 29.6 mm. And this does appear to be a sweet spot for dial with ceramic bezel watch. This is a similar size to how we see it on a Rolex Submariner. The lug-to-lug height of the watch is 47.7 mm. So while it is a 40 mm watch, you'd need a wristband of more than 48 mm to wear it without having the watch flare out of your wrist. For reference, my wrist size is 6.5 inches and the wristband is 55 mils. so I can wear it comfortably. The watch case thickness is 12mm, which is actually not as such a thick dimension for any sports watch, and I think it rather looks and feels thin for what it is. The watch comes with a classic 20mm wide bracelet, which tapers down beautifully to 15.5 mils, adding to the dressy looks. The clasp is 17.5 mils wide, and it looks beautiful and works perfectly. So what do I personally think about the GMT in two-tone and black and grey ceramic bezel? Well, the black and gold just work together. And in the combination of Jubilee Bracelet, this is essentially your only option in two-tone GMT in any modern Rolex range. Yes, there is a root beer in two-tone Ever Rose Gold, but it so far only comes on Oyster Bracelet. Does this release suggest that we may see a root beer on Jubilee Bracelet too? I would say it is likely, but then again, the yellow gold and black simply remains irreplaceable. And then the grey bezel that gives this model an identity of its own. And then if the root beer on Jubilee never happens, this grey ceramic bezel may possibly be the sweet spot in the two-tone Rolex GMT range. What I can also tell you, that if it does happen, there would be many collectors and many collections with both the root beer and this two-tone grey GMT.